Good morning, hey lovers. So today I want to talk a little bit about asking for what you want and the importance of it. This week in, hey Willow, this week in my program that I'm running, The Path of the Warrior, we were talking about asking for what you want, okay? And how the wounded ego shows up in that way. And what was interesting was, the amount of people who express that they couldn't ask for what they want, right? Whether it's when they're going out on a date or when they're entering into a relationship or in their workplace, right? And I wanted to talk a little bit about that because sometimes we can appear avoidant when we don't ask for what we want, and we can show up in an emotionally immature way. And I think that's really important to become aware of it. So often when we don't ask for what we want, it's because there's a fear of rejection there, or a fear of being judged or criticized or something like that, right? But often, and especially in relationships, right, or when you're relating with someone, it's often because we don't want to be rejected, right? Or we think that we're being too much, or we're asking for too much, and that if we ask that person for that, whatever it is we need, they may reject us, they may criticize us, they may attack us, right? So it's really important to notice what's going on for you when you're not asking for what you want, right? So the other thing that happens is when you don't ask for what you want, right, and you shut down emotionally, and you shut down, you disconnect, you're often showing up as the teenager, right? So this is what I call the teenage archetype. Now, the teenage archetype shuts down, doesn't ask for what they want, goes into fear or goes into mental turmoil, right? And overthinks things and gets confused and decides to maybe pull away because they can't ask for what they want, right? And so they're like, okay, well, I can't ask for what I want and I might not get what I want, and so maybe I should just pull away and disassociate and be avoidant and shut down, right? Now, that often happens unconsciously. You often wouldn't really be aware perhaps that you're doing it. You might be aware, right? But often it's unconscious and you may not realize that you're doing it. Now, I know that it's really hard to ask for what you want. Like, think about the times where you've had a job and you've wanted a pay rise, right? And you wanted to go see your boss and ask them for a pay rise. And you were nervous and you're like, oh, I'm asking for too much. Am I really doing enough to get that pay rise? Am I really worth it? Am I really this, right? You go into all these stories about what you deserve, right? And I think what is important there is that you know what your worth is there, right? Because when you know what your worth is, you're like, yeah, I do deserve it. I work hard for this company. I'm dedicated. I'm committed. It's the same in relationships, okay? Now, when you, and here's the thing, this is why it's so important to ask for what you want really early on when you're getting involved with someone, right? Because you need to show up as the empowered adult. So there's two things that happen, right? When you ask for what you want and you show up as the empowered adult, the other person can respond to that and say to you, oh yeah, I can do that. I can give you that. I can bring that to the table. Or what they might do is they might say, actually, I can't really commit to that right now. I don't think I can meet you there. Or I need to work up to that, right? Now, someone who is emotionally mature will respond in that way, and they will show you what they're capable of. And that's where you can go, okay, yes, I'm willing to explore this with this person. Yes, I'm willing to move towards it too. And you want to find out if someone's emotionally mature at the start. You don't want to get 3 months down the track to find out whether someone's emotionally mature or not. Right? Now, if you show up emotionally mature, you should be with someone who can also meet you there. Right? It's really important. So if you don't if you're not met in that way, when you ask for what you want, the other person, if they're not emotionally mature, they're going to show you pretty quickly. Okay? And it's not about whether people are good or bad or they're manipulative or not. They're just going to show you. They're going to show you that they can't meet you there. Or perhaps they'll say, yeah, sure, I can do that. But then they don't actually come and do that with their actions. Okay? So it's really important to ask for what you want. And it's hard, right? It's really hard to do that, right? And I was talking with one of the participants in the program, and she was saying to me that, someone asked her for what she wanted to do, and she said, I don't know, whatever you want to do, right? And, she talked about that being people-pleasing. And it can be people-pleasing, right? Because you're always putting it back on them. You're always telling them, oh, well, I'll do whatever you want to do, right? And as the empowered adult, you want to show up as the empowered adult in your relationships, right? I know that I do. I want to show up as the empowered adult. And what I noticed recently when somebody asked me what I need, I went into my teenager. And I was like, and I allowed myself to go there, right? Because I was like, I really want to unpack this so that I can share it with you guys. And what I noticed in that moment was that historically, when I would ask for what I want, I would get rejected. I wouldn't get it. And in that moment when this person asked me for what I needed, what my needs were, I went into that. And I was like, oh, don't say too much. Right, the teenager showed up. The young Anthea showed up. The 20-year-old Anthea, the 25-year-old Anthea showed up. And, it was like, oh, don't ask for too much. Don't be too much. Don't push it. Don't do this. Don't do that. And then I was like, hang on a minute. Hang on. I'm not that person anymore. Right? I'm not the teenager. I'm not young Anthea. I'm not 25-year-old Anthea. And this person is asking me what my needs are. So where it's uncomfortable for me to ask or to express what my needs are, I have to courageously do that because I want something I've never had before. So I'm going to take the courage that I have and I'm going to ask for what I want. And where it's uncomfortable, well, I'm going to push through that discomfort because I want to show up as the empowered adult in my relationships, right? I don't want to show up as the wounded teenager or the wounded 25-year-old. Now, when we start to do that, it gets easier. We get more comfortable with it. We get more used to it. And then it becomes easier and easier asking for what we want. And I think it's really important too that when you do ask for what you want, you notice how you're showing up. You do it in a soft and humble way. Yeah? Because you don't really know what's going on for the other person. Yeah? We often project our past onto other new people. So it's really important that you don't do that. So that's what happens when you start asking for what you want and you start expressing it. Now, when you don't, what can happen? Let's just talk about what happens when you don't ask for what you want and you shut down, you emotionally shut down, right? When you don't ask for what you want, what happens is you can tend to pull away and shut down. You may not even realize that you're doing it. You can go quiet, right? And you can go deep into your thinking, and your fears can then show up because you've got these little voices in your head that will be like, yeah, but remember what happened last time you asked for what you want? Remember when you did that to that chick and she left or he left, and right? And so you're in those moments where you are pulling away and shutting down, you're not showing up as the empowered adult, okay? And I know that it's really hard and that no one taught us how to do these things, right? They should really be teaching this stuff in schools. But now, as the empowered adult, if you want something you've never had before, then you're gonna have to do stuff you've never done before. And that means you're gonna have to show up as the empowered adult, right? You're gonna have to try and use your voice to ask for what you want. You're gonna have to express your needs. And if the other person is emotionally mature, they're gonna hear what your needs are and they're gonna say, yeah, I can do that. Or, I'm not sure I can do that. Or, I feel like for me at least, I need da-da-da-da. And what happens is when you do that with someone, you create a deeper connection with them. Yeah? Because you're both showing up in that moment and you're both openly expressing what your needs are, what you want, what your wants are. Now, what makes that really beautiful is that you're meeting each other. And to be met and to meet someone is in the middle is such a beautiful thing, right? Yeah. It's a really beautiful thing. It's a really beautiful experience. It heals you. It can heal your wounded inner child in that moment, right? It can heal those younger parts of you who were rejected, who never got met in the middle in that way. And if you've been rejected, bloody hell, it's bloody hard to open your heart and put yourself out there again. But if you don't open your heart and continue to put yourself out there, you're never going to find what you're looking for because you're shut off to it, right? There's something else I was going to say. Yeah, we do. Willow's just saying we all have so much fear of rejection. We do, right? But let me tell you this. Let me shift the perspective, right? Let's say you're not asking for what you want, okay? And the other person is confused by you because you're not asking for what you want. You're going into emotional shutdown, okay? And the other person's like, oh, but I really like her, but she doesn't really seem very interested in me. She's going into emotional shutdown. You don't know how the other person's going to perceive you shutting down and switching off, okay? And they may also be scared of rejection. So they may be like, okay, I think I'm getting the message that she's not really interested, so I'm just going to pull away, okay? So in that moment, you're assuming, they're assuming, you're assuming, right? And that doesn't really lead to anything. So I can't guarantee that you're never going to get rejected again, right? But what I can guarantee is that when you courageously open up, right, and you push through that fear of rejection, even if you do get rejected, you will learn something beautiful about yourself and you can move on. But if 10 years down the track, you find out that that person was so into you, but they just thought that you went into them, you will live in regret, okay? And living in regret is so much worse than a moment of rejection. Yeah, a moment of rejection you can overcome. Rejection helps you grow. You want to get really good at getting rejected. Yes, it's painful, I get it, right? I've been rejected over and over and over again. But it has given me the courage that I need to go for what I want, to bravely walk into something without really knowing or having all of the tools that I need to make it a success. But you know what? I'm going to do it anyway because I have the courage to do that. And what's the best thing that could happen? What's the best thing that could happen? I may meet someone who wants to meet me there, who also has a fear of rejection, who also is scared to ask for what they want. I may meet someone really beautiful and gentle and sweet like me, right? And so it's really important that we begin showing up as the empowered adult and not allowing our fears and the wounds of the past to affect us anymore, especially in your romantic relationships. You don't want to do that, guys. So how are you showing up? How are you showing up as the empowered adult? And you know what? You know what I've learned by being brave and courageous? That we all want the same thing. There's so many of us that have a fear of rejection. There's so many of us who are scared to ask for what they want. There's so many of us who assume that the other person is shutting down and switching off because they've got other people that they're seeing, or because they are really just not that into us. And so it's really important not to assume, because your assumptions are often wrong. So ask clarifying questions. So if you notice someone shutting down and switching off, ask clarifying questions. Don't assume anything until you get the right information. Does that make sense? So I just want to acknowledge everyone that's here. So many people watching. Hey, JJII. I'm sorry, I don't read. I think that's Japanese. So I'm sorry, I don't know what your name is there. Lee, Lauren, Big Sylv, Dan. Lee is saying, ask for what you want in spite of judgment and criticism. Yeah, well, because, probably as teenagers, and this is where we really step into that feeling criticized and judged, and we go into the whatever, and we shut down emotionally as the teenager, and we disconnect. So it's really important to notice when you show up as the teenager, right? But as the empowered adult, learn to get good at judgment and criticism. Learn to get good at that, because you know what? The people that are judging and criticizing you are so projecting their stuff onto you. They have low self-awareness. People who have high self-awareness do not judge and criticize others. They're curious about them. And they're like, wow, I wonder what's going on for them, right? And people who are self-aware and good people, they will encourage you to be your true authentic self. And that's who you want to surround yourself with, right? Hey, Lucia, Sharon, Camilla, Angie, hey, Michelle, Linda, Renee, Valentine, Rania, Vicky, Corey, hey, Jared. We have to learn to take the risk, yes. Because what if this person can meet us there and we can have the most amazing love affair with them? Or what if this person can meet us and we grow and expand together, right? How beautiful would that be? How beautiful would it be to be met and to just have someone, acknowledge you and see you bravely stepping into or moving towards them, right? And people want to see, we all want to know if someone's interested in us. Everyone wants to know if you're interested in them. Like, if you are, you got to show that. But emotionally shutting down doesn't really show that to someone. It shows they would assume that you're not interested. Yeah, people aren't mind readers. They've got their own wounds and traumas and things going on. So you want to make sure that if a connection is severed or a relationship ends, it's not because of your inability to express how you feel, your inability to ask for what you want and what your needs are. Okay? Because the teenager doesn't get their needs met, doesn't ask for them, but just shuts down, like whatever. Right? So be mindful of when you are stepping into the teenager. Hey, Adam. Adam's saying, what's the worst? The answer will always be no if you don't ask. Exactly. Right? Exactly. And what if in your head you've created this story? Yeah. I know I've done that before. I've created this story where someone's, just not that into me. And they're rejecting me and they've got other women on the go, right? That's a big one for me. There's all these other women on the go. And then when I ask the question, find out the truth. And it's often, our perspectives of each other, our men's perspectives of women and women's perspectives of men are so warped. We're so warped and twisted because of our upbringing that we assume these far out Hollywood scenarios that aren't even ever real, right? And the only way, what I've realized, the only way to avoid disasters is by communicating. Like we have to become such good communicators, right? And a lot of people may be triggered by that. Yeah, a lot of people might be triggered by your questioning. And if they are, well, they're just showing you what they're capable of. I remember I connected with this guy on Tinder once and I was asking him questions and he said to me, you're asking way too many questions. What do you need to know that for? And I was like, oh, okay. Just getting to know you. He's like, well, it feels like an interview. I'm like, okay. So I disconnected, right? Because he was showing me what he's capable of. And that's okay. Maybe he doesn't like questions. Maybe he doesn't like opening up in that way. Maybe his way of connecting is different. But for me, that's how I connect. I want to make sure that the person I'm getting involved with, I understand them. And the only way to do that is to ask questions. The only way to do that is to interview them. So be fun with it, you know, be fun with it. And maybe if it helps soothe your inner teenager, before you express your needs, ask really good questions that can give you more information to see whether that person can meet you there. If you're so scared of rejection, ask better questions. So what are your thoughts on da 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 da, right? Because then you're going to get an idea of whether they're going to be able to meet you there. But I think it's still really important to show up as that empowered adult with courage. And at the end of the day, we all want the same things, men, women. We all want to be loved and accepted for who we are in this moment. Insecurities and all, wounds and all. We want to be met. We want to be honoured for who we are. And when you know what you bring to the table, right? When you know that you have all of this value that you can bring to the table, then you should use that to pump up your courage. Yeah. So guys, I hope that this video has helped. I felt a really strong pull to jump on and share this information with you. I think it's really important as we move into more empowered relationships with others, that we show up as our best selves, and that means showing up as the emotionally mature adult and recognizing where we are showing up as the teenager or the wounded child. So sending you lots of love, and I'll see you guys soon.